and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. And as you guys are coming in, I'm gonna give a quick introduction if you're not familiar with us. So my name is Anya Chrysanthon. I am a Chief Brand Officer at Anugo, and I'm really excited to introduce my friend Lauren today. Lauren Loy is a seasoned sales professional. Lauren's journey has led her to not only advance in her own career, but also find ways to improve her own well-being as well as finances through mindfulness practices. So Lauren's going to be sharing some of the best practices with us today so that we can all have more money, more happiness, and a better life in 2023. So Lauren, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Anya. You couldn't have said that better. So appreciate you. And hello, everyone. Really grateful that you joined in today for this talk on how mindfulness can help you to increase your sales and overall well-being. 2023 is here, right? It's a fresh start to a new year. So let's try to do things a new way. As we are setting our intentions and goals for the year ahead, it is really important that we actually take a moment to pause, reflect, quiet ourselves, and really dedicate ourselves to our best intentions. I want to acknowledge that we have collectively experienced a lot, from a global pandemic to a booming housing market where we couldn't write contracts fast enough, to now the dust is settling and the market's rebalancing. We have seen the leads are down. So we're having to pivot again, right? That's a lot. So we have to put our own oxygen mask on first before we can fully show up for others. With intention setting and goals in mind, I came across a beautiful quote I'd like to quickly share from Tara Brach. She says that intention and attention, they go together. So the more that you become aware of your intention, for example, I have the intention to care, it brings up your attention. So you start paying attention more, which brings out the caring, and they just feed each other in a beautiful way. So I'd like us to just take a quick second to pause and maybe even write a question down. And whether you want to answer this now or later over tea or coffee, let's have a prompt to actually set an intention here. So what most matters to you? How do you want to feel? And what is your heart's will? So this is a great way to answer that question, is fill in this blank for me. It is my will to blank. So even if you just have one that pops in your mind right now, you can fill that in. And again, you can always reference these later and fill them out when you have some time. All right. Thank you for doing that with me. I'm Lauren. Nice to meet you all virtually. I have spent the majority of my career as an online sales consultant to online sales manager for over 10 years, working for national builders. Quickly fell in love with this amazing industry. I actually am now currently the regional sales executive with ECI for Lasso CRM and LotVue and Insearch. I was actually thinking of this to sum this up. I prescribe software tools to help home builders with their pain, with lead, lot management, marketing, design selection processes. So when I was an OSC, I have been through many different housing markets, and I found myself really stressed. My life lacked a lot of work-life balance, and it took a toll on my mental health and my physical health. With this adversity, it actually led me to find mindfulness, and it actually transformed my life personally and also my work life and my finances. So that's why we're here today talking about this. I'd like to share some of these with you. It also has led me to almost be done with grad school for transpersonal psychology. And I would love to kind of go through some of these tools that I've applied in my life and how it's really helped. These are some of the talking points we'll look at today. What is mindfulness? The research around it, the science of mindfulness, some actual tools, and we'll dive into empathic listening skills. What the heck is mindfulness? So mindfulness is actually a compound word that means mindful presence and a mindful response. Mindfulness is a way of paying attention moment to what's happening within ourselves and around us without judgment. It's simply being completely in the present moment, right now, right now, right now. It keeps bringing you back, right? So let's do this really quick. Let's all just take a quick moment. Close your eyes. Try this with me. Take a big breath in. Big exhale out. Feel your body breathing. Where is your breath most apparent? Notice the sounds around you, the sounds that are actually here over the sounds of our thoughts. Relax your jaw. Let your shoulders dissolve. Feel your feet on the earth. One more big breath in and out. Thank you. You can open your eyes. So this mindfulness practice, it trains us to drop into our body again and again. Our body wisdom is greater than our deepest philosophy. So it helps us to really check in with our bodies. So what does this mean for us? So I have a few interesting statistics that I found and some research on mindfulness and how it can actually improve our work and our life. So I'm sure we won't be surprised. The US has scored highest in depression, obesity, heart disease. We score one of the highest in stress. Neuroscience is actually showing, though, that mindfulness is influencing our ability to concentrate, boosts our memory, strengthens our emotional regulation skills, enhances our self-awareness. It also, I found a research study that is actually showing us that mindfulness can help you process and digest information quicker, as well as reducing distractions and procrastination. We're inundated all day long with distractions. So with these practices, we can really hone in our mind on the task at hand. We're also seeing that mindfulness is decreasing stress, anxiety, depression, rumination, and emotional reactivity. It's shown and proven that it helps increase your overall well-being, immunity, immune function, and relationship satisfaction. I found this really interesting study that I'd love to share. So in a 2020 report, it claims that not only regular mindfulness practices improved employee focus and productivity by 120%, but employers were seeing an 85% decrease in absenteeism, and businesses with like meditation programs in place experienced a 520% profit increase. It's huge. So there's one other quick thing I want to share that there was a study of 100 people. They studied them over the course of a whole year and they practiced mindfulness daily. And I'll go through some of those different tools that they practiced, but it can just be 30 minutes a day of some sort of mindfulness practice. So at the end of the year, they found 3 consistent characteristics among the attendees of the study, of the group. They were warmer. They just had like a warmer, softer presence about them. They were more present. Like when you were talking to them, they're with you, like eye contact or even on the phone, you know, you feel heard. They were with you. And the other characteristic was that they were less reactive. So when we think of these 3 things that mindfulness provides, that there's a warmer presence, we're more present with the people we're interacting with, and we're less reactive. Well, how are those things translated into our client relationships? If I'm a buyer and I'm working with a sales agent who has a warm presence, they're really with me when they're talking with me. And if something happens that maybe is a difficult situation, that they handle it calmly and less reactive, right? There's a quote that I love, and you can see it here at the screen. So between stimulus and response, there is a space. So in that space is our power to choose our response. And in that lies our growth for our freedom. Let's talk about some of the different tools. On this slide, you can see here, this is a yoga pose, right? So I want to mention the first mindfulness tool of yoga. So I've also been teaching yoga and meditation for about 10 years. And my goal today is to take the woo-woo out of yoga and to make the thought of it being inaccessible accessible for you. Okay. The word yoga itself just means that we're in union of our mind and our body and our spirit. And yes, we have all three of those in the meat suit that we're in. Okay. So the goal of this yoga practice is that we unite our mind and our body and our soul all in the present moment, right? I often hear when people say, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible. I wish I could get a raise of hands. If you want to chat, it's a common thing that we hear, okay? The thing is you're right. You can't do yoga because it's your natural state to be in union with your mind, body, and spirit. But what we do is when we get on our mat or we do these practices, it shows us where we're resisting the natural state. It shows us, you know what, I might be in this side stretch that you can see on the screen, but my mind is already planning dinner. I'm not fully in the moment that I'm in. So that's all it is. It's just helping us to be really present where we are with our body, with our breath and our mind, all in the one place. Patabi Joy, he actually is a creator of Ashtanga yoga, and he says your body is not stiff, your mind is stiff. And this can go into everything in our life, right? It helps us to see where we're grasping. So have a quick exercise for us. Do this for me. Make fists with your hands. Keep squeezing. Keep squeezing. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. All right, now slowly release. Open the palm. This practice teaches us the body awareness to notice when we're grasping, when we're tightening, when we're clenching, and we don't even know. Sometimes we can go through our whole day without even realizing we're not breathing or that we're tensing up, right? So we release the grip and we just soften. Okay, imagine how that can help us in the relationships in our lives. So yoga is for everyone. You don't have to make these perfect Instagram shapes or make it look great. It's not about that. It's for everybody. And these poses just help us to get into our body. Okay. I wanted to mention you can also try yoga online. There's like a site called doyogawithme.com and it's free. And if you wanted to just try it that way, but try it, give it a try. All right. Next slide. Let's talk about another tool, meditation. I also kind of want to take if there's any sort of overwhelm with that word, I want to make it accessible for us. So meditation is just like another form of exercise. A physical exercise is just mental exercise. We're training our mind. This is going to help us handle stress better. And one thing that is a really great way to sum up what meditation is, we're not trying to clear our mind of thought. That's not what we're trying to do. It's kind of impossible. The mind is going to go. But what we are doing is training the mind to develop this capacity to recognize when we've drifted into the past or into the future and we're not really where we are. We notice we've drifted and we're like, oh, and we just come back to the moment that we're in with kindness, right? That's all it is. So I'd like us to try something as an actual tool that you can take away. You could always on your phone, set yourself a 5-minute timer. Sit in silence and just relax with your breath. That's it. I know it sounds a lot simpler than it is. It's hard to step away even for 5 minutes sometimes. Especially even as sit in silence can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's really important that we allow ourselves that time to get quiet and actually see what's going on. All right, so 5 minutes a day, that's all you need. Just relax and sit with your breath. There are also guided meditations you can try, but I'd like us to try one very simple one. This will take 10 seconds, not even. Let's go ahead, close our eyes again. Bring your hand on your heart if that feels okay for you. Breathing in, I calm my body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I'm dwelling in the present moment. Breathing out. I know this is a wonderful moment. And we can slowly reopen our eyes. Really great exercise, especially for my OSCs out there, that maybe you end a call and you've got another call coming in, 5-10 seconds to pause, reset, bring that smile to your face again so that we are fully available for the next customer that we work with and make them feel important and special, just as they are, just as you are. It's actually been proven that taking 6 deep breaths can actually evoke the relaxation response, gets you out of fight or flight, puts the body into parasympathetic, and it actually helps you lower your blood pressure. So pretty cool. 6 deep breaths. What if you were to try that once a day and then you upped it to 3 times a day? Like, let's just see if we can do things a new way this year. And let's see how that makes you feel and how that changes things in your life. The last thing I want to mention here on the screen, you can see I have some rain droplets. This was a visual of a really awesome meditation called RAIN. It is an acronym, and I have it spelled out for you here. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. Recognize when we're triggered. It happens all day long. We typically have the same habitual response to our triggers. So now we're just going to recognize when we're triggered, allow it to be there. Oftentimes we want to push it away and run from it. What if we were to just welcome it and say, okay, fear is here. Welcome. Okay, investigate. Where is that fear showing up in your body, or where is it showing up? Maybe your throat's really tight, right? And then the last step would be to nurture. We often take care of a lot of other people and we forget about ourselves. So we can offer this self-compassion to ourselves and maybe even ask yourself, what do I need from me right now? Maybe you just need a reminder that it's okay, right? That you're going to be okay. So self-compassion. So that's another tool I want to also mention. It pairs with the 2 wings of mindfulness. Okay. So self-compassion entails being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we're suffering or when we feel inadequate. Maybe we get into a trance of unworthiness that's not real, right? We can be kind to ourselves. So rather than ignoring or beating ourselves up, we can be kind to ourselves. Kristen Neff studies self-compassion. There's Harvard studies with Kristen Neff on self-compassion. And so there's a really beautiful way to just say, hey, this is a moment of suffering. It's a shared experience. It's a part of life. May I please be kind to myself? Really simple in those moments. Let's talk about another tool. Yes, technology can actually be a tool for mindfulness in the workplace. Okay. Technology can actually give you time back in your day for work-life balance. It can help you to prioritize what matters to you. We did that in the beginning, right? You can actually help rely on it to help you run your business and each milestone of the buyer journey. It can elevate your entire customer experience from pre-sale to after closing, and increase your sales conversions. This can think about all the manual entry you might still be doing. Well, the CRM, we can automate that in. Think about your reporting. I remember doing Sunday night manual reports for Monday morning's meetings. And, now we have automated reports for that. Have time with your family or yoga class on Sunday night. Get yourself ready for the week ahead. Technology can also, in management, it's going to help you run your business rather than relying on manual. You can see what's going on. You have visibility and you know how to better manage your team. You can help train and empower, track your conversions, maximize the leads efforts right now. Okay. We're seeing it maximize leads from at least 30% with some of these tools. So obviously I can help you with these, but whatever it is that you do, make sure that you have the tools in place. It is time. Okay. It's been time. Empathic listening. This is a mindfulness tool, but I wanted to kind of give it its own section of our talk today. This has really, really impacted my relationships, not only personally, but in the workplace. This alone has really created meaningful relationships, and I've seen this exponentially increase my sales and referrals. So I have a few talking points today on empathic listening for us. So there's actually 5 different levels of empathic listening, from lowest to highest. Okay, so the lowest level of listening would be ignoring. It's whether we're ignoring ourselves or not listening to another person. Okay, the next level would be pretending to listen. I know how it is. We've got multiple things going on. We can be on our phone and we're like, acting like we're listening, but we're not really there. Okay. So we've got pretending to listen. We're occupied with our own thoughts going on. The third level, going up a little bit higher, is called selective listening. So we're not hearing every word, and we're really hearing from our own reference point. We're actually formulating answers while the other person is speaking. Have you ever had that where you're like not done talking and somebody is like, you can tell they're at the edge of their seat ready to say something, and it doesn't feel good. We want to make sure, let's just stay quiet and we'll talk about some of the guidelines for this in a moment. So there's selective listening. Okay. Then the next level would be attentive listening. So we're listening, but it's still at surface. We're still at the surface level of our listening. It's still from our own reference point. Okay. The highest level of listening is empathic listening. So this is truly listening with the intent to understand without a personal agenda, being vulnerable to change, open to a different opinion. We're really deeply listening here. So let's talk about some guidelines to actually bring empathic listening into our day-to-day. I love Stephen Covey's quote here that says, most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Okay. Thich Nhat Hanh, he has a beautiful book called The Art of Communication. It's really about loving speech, compassionate communication. And he has something in here that he encourages us to ask one another. It says, do you think I understand you enough? Right? Oftentimes we might be reacting in our speech and we're not talking from the soft spot underneath the reaction. And that's where we really want to get to with each other, is like that deep understanding, even a genuine curiosity, right? Let's bring that back into our sales interactions with our customers, just generally curious and really wanting to understand and help. The words that we say can or cannot be nourishing. Okay, how you live depends on which seeds you water. So if you're watering healthy seeds, those are what will grow. So may we continue to nurture and water those compassionate seeds. So in order to bring more empathic listening in, here's some of the tips. We're going to give undivided attention. We practice active listening. Don't interrupt, make eye contact, indicate that you're listening, let people finish, pause. Okay. The next, listen fully. We listen without evaluating, without judging, without trying to change or fix. We're not trying to change or fix. We're just deeply listening. Lastly is affirm what you're hearing. Validate. Repeat back what it is that you've heard. I hear that you're saying this, or tell me more about that. I know that that's a tool that we've learned a lot in our sales training. Tell me more. I want to understand more. With this, we're all doing the best we can, and we're human and we're doing great. But I do love this quote from Carl Rogers. It says, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am is when I can change. So we just have this radical acceptance and then this sunlight of awareness on some of these things we can bring in, and we can start to maybe see some shifts happen. I want us to take a moment to kind of reflect on some of these things. With practicing mindfulness, it is a practice. It's a daily practice. And I actually looked up the definition of practice. Merriam-Webster says it's the act of doing something regularly or repeatedly to improve your skill at doing it. Just with our intentions, with our goals for this year, we have to practice it. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first. Maybe you have a goal to like get some cardio in and run a few days a week. I know those first few times it's gonna be tough, but that's where the growth is. And the same thing applies with kind of shifting the way that we do things, especially with mindfulness. So I have this image here of a bridge. It's where we are now, where we're at now, and where our future self lies ahead, and starting to almost walk as if we are already that future self. So I have a few questions, reflections. If you want to journal some of these down, you can even take a photo picture with your phone. With the research on mindfulness that I shared, how does being more present and less reactive impact our relationships with clients? Think of yourself as the customer that you're working with. When we're more available, present, they can tell. They can tell that you're fully with them and there's a warmth about it, and they enjoy talking to you, and they might even share some more information with you. And also, if something difficult arises and you find yourself being calmer in the chaos, that can really enhance those relationships as well.
Kimberly
Okay.
Mackey is saying that by practicing active listening, you can give yourself time to think through your response, be present.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Monica is saying a customer believes that you care about them and will be more open.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they can feel that you genuinely care, that this isn't just about the sale. Like, we're getting back to this human connection, human to human connection. And it starts again with putting our oxygen mask on first, caring for ourselves, because then we're fully available to show up for others. And there's going to be good days and bad. But as we start to practice this more, you will see the effects take place.
So Monica added, customers feel that you have their best interest in mind. And Corey says, gives you a chance to actually address the customer concerns rather than jumping to conclusions.
Yeah,
Big one.
absolutely.
We always tend to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, I think there's a book on the 4 agreements, right? Like don't make assumptions, right? So we want to like have that kind of sacred pause, if you will, and let's just actually see what's underneath this, what's really going on, and let's talk from that place, from a place of like really deeply wanting to understand. How can this empathic listening create meaningful relationships and increase sales? And I know we've kind of chatted about it already a little bit with that question, but like if we're really practicing empathic listening and your customer feels really heard, how does that actually start to create a meaningful relationship? And how is that correlated to sales increasing? For example, when I was looking for a house myself and I was working with an agent, I had a few things that were really important to me. Well, I didn't feel heard, and it felt like it was just trying to throw here, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one. And I'm like, yeah, but these are the things that really matter to me. And so it's really taking the time to slow down in a world that is busy. I've heard a phrase called "there's no time to rush." There's no time to rush. And I know that we have to multitask. It's part of what we do and we're good at it. And at the same time, by intentionally slowing down to deeply listen, then you can hear what it is that they really need and what's important to them. And even just validating those things, whether we find the perfect house or not, but validating those things is going to create that relationship of trust, that I can trust them, and I'm going to refer them in the future. Another question: how do you think stress is affecting your relationships, not only personally, but with customers? How is stress affecting yourself? So obviously we've talked how mindfulness can reduce stress, and how is that actually affecting? Are we kind of snapping at when we get super stressed? Like, do we snap, or do we need to start training the mind on that habitual reaction through some of these tools we discussed today, right? I think it's Pema Chodron that says, don't bite the hook. So we start to train. We just train, just like we train in a lot of that what we do. Okay. So noticing how when I'm stressed, this happens. So then, okay, so let's go to the stress part and actually work from that place. All right, I'm gonna take 6 deep breaths. Now let me try again. We can always practice a fresh start. We hang up a phone call, 6 deep breaths, and let's start again.
Kimberly says stress completely clouds your judgment and doesn't allow you to look through a clear lens to assess the situation.
That's it. Clears, yeah, it clouds your judgment. Yeah, it almost creates this like veil, right, that that we see through. And there's a beautiful book called The Course in Miracles that says a miracle is actually a shift in perception. And I love that. It's really just a fresh start, a new perspective, and let's start from there rather than from this reactionary stress place. And we can get so stressed that we get burnt out and we don't even know that we're getting stressed until I had a moment the other day. I was like, I didn't even know this was going on. So that's when we have a regular practice to keep checking in with our bodies, because the body is going to tell you first before the mind. So if we're tuned in with our bodies, okay, I'm clenching. My fists are like, even if it's not my fist, but my throat's tight, my chest is tight, my stomach's tight, something's going on. Now I can soften and realize, okay, I need some self-care right now. The mind and the body are one. Let's not forget that. That's yoga. What are some mindfulness practices that you intend to practice starting today? I'd love to see that in the chat. 6 deep breaths. Maybe it's, you try a yoga class, maybe it's going for a walk outside and just taking 10 minutes a day to step away from all technology and walking in silence, being in silence for 5 minutes a day. We talked about that, so what some simple tools. I'd love to hear what you'd like to put in writing as your intention to start bringing into your life.
I'm going to try the 5-minute meditation. I think that's doable.
It's doable. It's totally accessible. We don't have to make it a whole thing. I know. Just set that timer on for 5 minutes, and I'll tell you when that 5 minute goes off, you're like, oh, I could use 5 more, All right. So the other thing here I want to mention is let's talk just another moment on self-compassion, because it is paired with mindfulness. So why do you think self-compassion is important? And I have a hint on the slide for us, but I know a lot of us are givers, and sometimes we need to turn the mirror back on ourselves and do a check-in, and this isn't in a selfish way. Sometimes I've heard that self-compassion, well, that's selfish, and we can even tell ourselves that or that it's ego involved, and really all this is just being nurturing to ourselves when we tend to beat ourselves up. There's this really interesting, it's a Buddhist parable actually, on the 2 arrows being shot with 2 arrows. And the first arrow means pain is inevitable. It's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. Okay. But the second arrow is the one we're actually putting in to the wound ourselves, and we just dig it in deeper and make it worse, right? It's the suffering is optional. And that's where with these practices and self-compassion, we can say, hand on your own heart, I did the best I can. I'm going to do better next time. And then we just move forward with a fresh start.
Yeah, this is where the self-talk is really important. So I never allow any negative thoughts enter my mind, because especially if I go in front of audience or speak in front of audience and start thinking like, oh, am I good enough, or this or that. And as soon as you start that, it's like, no, if you're thinking that, then of course other people are going to think that. So you have to have that positive mindset and just
absolutely
shut down the negative.
Yes. And thanks for bringing that up, because, with exactly what Anya said, y'all, because again, with these meditations, we're just kind of noticing when we've drifted, into thought. We can even just tell ourselves thinking, you name it, worrying, planning, right? Like name what it is that's actually happening for you in a nice way. You can breathe with it, be like, all right, I'm worrying. Take a breath with the worry. And then we just reopen in the moment that we're in versus like that rumination, which the research showed that, hey, these practices help us get out of the rumination, focus on the task at hand. So it trains the mind. Let's get back to the moment that we're in, right? Notice when we're in a negative thinking pattern. And that negativity it can be contagious. Positivity is contagious. So are we practicing negative thoughts or are we practicing positive thoughts? We have I want to mention this. This is something I wanted to also talk about. We have a negativity bias. It is a natural thing. It's part of our makeup as a human when we used to run from tigers. Okay. But we're not. So we're not being chased down, right? So what we need to notice is notice those thoughts when it's happening. And when we do get stuck in a negativity bias, there's actually a way to get out of it. Believe it or not. If you walk by, say you see like a flower, I'm going to give this example. Walk by a flower and you're like, that's a really pretty flower. Maybe you even smell it, like stop and smell the roses, right? Well, maybe we notice it for like a second and then we're on to the next thing. Or we might even be on a phone call and we're like, oh, pretty flower. Okay, and we're on. So the way to reverse this negativity bias is when you have a beautiful moment, whether you see a child smiling, a flower, something that touches you in a beautiful way, that we actually pause and marinate in it for 30 seconds. It's actually a really long, I kind of caught myself. I tried to stare at a flower for 30 seconds and it was really long. It's a long time. But point being is that the more that we like marinate in those moments of positivity, it starts to become our baseline. That's the space that we work from. And guess what? Our customers want to be around people that are positive. It feels really good to be someone that is just that radiates that positivity. So that's a practice I'd like us to try. Let's just stare at flowers for 30 seconds a day. All right. Let's close this up. I have one last question for us, and this is a big one. How do you want others to feel after they leave your presence? They won't remember what you say, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. Just think on that. How is it that you want others to feel after being with you, your customers, right? Your family, your friends. When we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not able to fully show up for others. And it's okay if we have a day or two and we're human, right? You're perfect as you are. Okay. These are just tools that we can start to incorporate into our life. And I honestly would love to stay in touch with you if you do one of these things a few times this year. And at the end of the year, send me an email. Let me know how it affected you and your work life and your personal life, your relationship with yourself. I really wanted to share this, and I'm so grateful, Anya, for this opportunity to just kind of talk on something that's very important. And I think that it's really important that we start bringing these practices more into our work life and into our personal life as well.
100%. I can personally say that I feel better just from this session. I feel like this was group meditation type.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people commented just how calming of an effect your voice has on everyone. So thank you so much for leading us through this. And yeah, I think we need to talk more about mindfulness and about self-awareness and just how we feel. It's been a rough past couple of years for everybody. And as you guys know, construction industry has some of the highest suicide rates of any profession. So I think we need to just normalize talking about it and make it part of our everyday life. So I'm certainly going to implement some of these practices. So thank you so much, Lauren.
Absolutely. So feel free, that's my email. You can reach out to me. I do offer mindfulness coaching as well. Really just take great care. Feel free to reach out to me as well. I have some great resources of like free guided meditations, free yoga classes, different books and things we can always share and really support each other in this amazing industry that we're in, and really just take good care of ourselves and our customers and family at home. Thank you all so much. And I guess we'll see you soon. I hope maybe I'll see some of y'all at IBS. We'll be there.
Yes, thank you so much,
Come.
everybody, for joining us. We've recorded this session, so we'll be sending it out to everybody, and feel free to share with your coworkers and anybody you think would benefit from this, whether they're in our industry or not. So thanks, and we'll see you guys very soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.